Hello everyone. Just gonna quickly check. Okay, so it's on, and we're gonna wait. Hello everyone. Just gonna quickly check. I think I have the other window open, so I'm just gonna close it for now. And set everything up. Okay, so we're gonna just wait for like 2-3 more minutes. So I'm just gonna do quick checks in here. So that's done. Commenting is on. Preferences. Okay, that's all set. So just gonna wait for about 1-2 minutes till we start. I don't really know, to be honest, how many people will join us. So it was such a last minute sort of event. I just had like a little bit of time free, so I decided why not try make this live session. So let's see. Just gonna set the canvas a bit better so that it's more visible. I think this flower is a bit on the way. Cool. Okay, so I think that would be alright. So anyway, it's going to be very sort of chilled and let's say like relaxed, really last minute session. You will be able to watch this video after, so it will be uploaded on YouTube. In case you have to sort of look back and paint some bits again. So basically today we're going to have 1 hour sort of oil painting session. So I've decided to sort of pick this image of mother with a child. As you know, the Mother's Day is coming, so I'd say I'm gonna show you quickly. This is the image that we're going. Where's the camera? This is the image that we're going to paint. Obviously, the image itself, as you can see on the thumbnail and on all the sort of little posters on the Eventbrite and everything, the actual image is very detailed. So we're not really gonna go in depth and and paint it as detailed as it is here. But the main thing will be to sort of understand the scale and understand sort of the color scheme, and just to sort of draw and paint the actual portrait and the actual newborn baby and the woman in a correct way, in a correct scale. So first things first, we're gonna prepare some paints. So we're gonna do oil painting. I do have this little, to be honest, very in use palette, and we're going to choose red colors. So I'm saying we always need a lot of white. White allows you to sort of mix a lot of colors and tone them very nicely. So white. So we do have a lot of red on the actual image, so we're gonna use red. I'm not gonna put too much of paint as well. I think it's more efficient to first use, sort of put in a little bit less, and if you need to use more, then you can always add more. Otherwise, the paint dries out. It's just a waste of just material, waste of paint, waste of money. So I'd say it's always better to add up than throw away. So the yellow one as well. Yellow one only because once we sort of mix yellow, red and white, we'll sort of have this sort of skin tone color. So, and some brown, of course, for the darker moments. Green, I don't remember if we have any green. Let me check. We do have some green bits, we have some yellow bits, and whatever is in between. So the main thing is really the main colors would really be white, red and yellow, and obviously dark sort of color. So but we do have a little bit of green one, so just gonna add just a touch of green. Just a little bit for some detail. You can see the detail on the scarf, and perhaps a little bit on the background. Okay, so we do have our base palette. So white, red, yellow, brown and green. And we are going to, so this is my jar with oil. So as you know, we are using oil paints, but they tend to dry out. Obviously these are not sort of brand new paints. I've been using them for a couple of months. They're pretty big tubes, but I find it depending really on the style that you're trying to achieve, but it's very nice to sort of use any oil you have at home would be okay. So sunflower oil, olive oil, perhaps a bit too posh, but I'd say just any standard oil would be fine. So I have this jar with oil, and whilst we're gonna paint, I'm gonna basically mix the paint colors with the oil. Okay, so as simple as that, and we're going to pick some brushes. So I really have a very functional table here, so I have a lot of stuff on the floor. But anyway, this is, well, okay. This is sort of my case with most, not all, but most of my brushes. And I guess you always wanna have, I don't know, in this case, since we sort of painting on A2 sheet, so this is pretty standard sheet, you know, it's sort of like a grey cardboard, and you know, we considering it's quite a big size, we are going to use 3 types of brushes. So we're definitely gonna use a bigger one, I'd say something like this, to put in the basic colors. So that's number 1. And we also gonna use medium one, right? So we have a big one, we have a medium one for sort of more shading and details. And we are going to use, probably have a smaller one. I'm probably gonna pick a smaller one, to be honest, but let's say this one for now. So that will be the third one, right? So 3 different sort of sizes, different styles. Okay, so we do have this and this, and we are going to start the process. So, okay, since, as I already said, we have only like 1 hour, and the picture itself, like original picture, is quite detailed, we're mainly gonna focus on sort of main basic, I'd say the basic positioning, coloring, and basically setup of the painting. And we are actually going to start with the biggest brush. So obviously there are different ways you can start the painting. A lot of people start with the sketching, so you know, sort of with the pen or pencil, bringing the whole picture into the canvas or into the grey board in this case. However, since we do have 1 hour, and I really would like us to try to be a little bit brave and confident with painting, which I think is very important. I've been teaching for a while. It's not my primary job, but I did have some students, and I do notice that people are very scared of making mistakes in painting, which basically is very it's just very silly, because you know, it's a painting, you're creating it, so you're entitled to do whatever you want with it. So you know, if you make a mistake, just play along, and you know, you can always fix it, and if you don't want to fix it, you can always pretend it was meant to be like that. So you know, just be brave, be confident, and not be sort of afraid to make any mistakes. That's the bottom line. So as I said, today we're going to start with just painting with oil paints. So what I usually do is, obviously I do have oil. You don't have to use oil, you can only use paints if you just have the paints, or you can go and grab quickly oil, and I usually just dip a little bit and start with the basic outline. So I'd say when it comes to paintings, the best thing is to sort of establish the white bits first, only because once you sort of use white paint on your brush, you can then later on add other colors and mix it, and you can't go back. So if I would, for example, start with red, I can't, unless I clean my brush, I can't really go into pure white. So that's like a real like a practical tip from me, to always sort of start from the lightest, like bright white colors on the painting, and then add sort of more and more like darker colors. Okay, so it really doesn't matter the size of the canvas that you sort of painting or drawing on. I hope it's gonna be visible. Okay, so well, it's a bit on an angle for me, so okay, so I usually let's say I usually sort of establish, it's not very we're gonna do this like that. Yeah, so I usually sort of put in the main colors in the right place, just approximately. So we're gonna have something in here. Actually, I'm gonna use the medium brush. So okay, so I am going to have like this sort of bit in here. Then again, if I can give you one tip, I'd probably say try to like basically painting from a picture or like from real life. It's a lot of sort of looking back and forth. So literally looking at the canvas and then looking at the picture again to sort of understand how to understand the relation and the scale of each bit. So I'd say something like this. Something like this. We do have these white sheets here. You see, this is why I'm using oil in this case. I mean, obviously, if you have already sort of prepared plastered cotton canvas, the surface itself is going to be much smoother and sort of better without better to apply oil paint without having additional oil. But since I'm doing it on the cardboard, and the texture is quite rough, it's even more important for me to use oil so that I can have more of a smooth strokes. So we're gonna sort of add these details. Part of the shirt in here. So depending on whether you sort of do it for yourself for the practice or whether you would like to watch this again and sort of try and do it as I don't know, perhaps a gift for your mom. Obviously this entire session is a trial for me. It's literally the first time I'm doing live, and I thought why not. I can find 1 hour a week to sort of give a little bit to the community and perhaps share some skill and share some perhaps tricks or tips or whatever I can share with people that are interested in art, in painting, drawing. So I am going to actually use white. So I'm gonna actually use white now to sort of try and find each sort of bit from the painting. So, you know, something like face, then, you know, the shoulder, and then etc, etc. So obviously this is a bit too, how it should be higher. Okay, so the face is going to be somewhere here. And this is more of a sort of like study painting, I'd say, rather than something very precise. Just perhaps a nice way to spend time and learn or practice some skills. So we have the scarf in here, and not sure if you can see it properly. Perhaps should turn it slightly this way. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Okay. Okay, over here. Okay, so I'm sort of trying to find each bit. So, you know, like face in here. You know, a quick tip, if I can sort of say, would be to try and find try and sort of create the entire composition, the entire sort of painting in few strokes, using more sort of geometrical line and shapes. So, like, you know, when we have a face or head in general, we sort of wanna use this like sort of circular or oval in the way shape. You know, we do want to establish, like, for example, our shoulders here. So we sort of have this like line coming in through, and depending on how we sort of move or turn, you know, our shoulders, this line will be sort of positioned in a different way. So sort of the shoulder set up, the chest, then we have the baby, this newborn, the baby's head in here. So somewhere here, you know, little hands here, then obviously the blanket is blanketed here. Then the feet are probably not going to like, we'll just do it this way, like up until here, little fit in here. I'm just gonna use a little bit of like darker now so that it's more visible. Okay, and we are going to add a little bit more color here. So that's done. So we do have the sort of like a basic, I would say, outline. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to mix the primary colors to create, you know, in this case, the sort of like milky sort of skin tone, pinky sort of skin tone. So, you know, in order to create that particular you know, skin tone, I am using a little bit of red, some yellow, and obviously white, more white. So this is approximately how it is going to look like. As you can see, we do have this I don't really want to place it vertically much, but we do starting to have the skin tone. Obviously we can mix colors in a different way, you know, depending on the sort of bit we're painting. Obviously some areas are going to be darker, some areas are going to be lighter. So let's do it. Maybe a little bit darker here. And I'd say never worry like about the color if the color doesn't sort of mix perfectly the first time. You know, you can always add more. You can always add more color. You can always add more white or more red, depending on sort of the shade you're trying to achieve. So just don't worry. Painting is not painting. You know, supposed to be a very, very free, you know, relaxing in a way process. So just enjoy the process. Okay, so I think I do have, I'd say, the shade that I really want. So it's like a skin tone. And I am going, and well, it's not, I must say, as this is my trial sort of live painting session, the camera isn't the best yet. That's why I have to get something, you know, better quality, I'd say, like camera, for the purpose of our live sessions, which hopefully will grow. A little bit more oil, okay. And I'd say, you know, it really depends on the way you paint and on the level you are. Are you a beginner or are you more professional painter? But you know what I usually do, and how can I guide you is basically by telling you that, you know, sort of always try to pick the right tones. I'd say we're starting from the lightest colors, like sort of adding more white, focusing on lighter shades here, on lighter bits. Obviously depending on, you know, it really, like, a lot of shades and colors on your paintings really depend on the lighting, whether it's a lighting from a lamp like I have here, whether it's a day lighting. You know, there's a lot of different sort of external external bits that can influence the painting, and we would always sort of try to match the reality. So we do have some, you know, some darker or more sort of pinkish shades in here. You know, the good thing with oil paint, I'd say, when it comes to painting, is that you can, you know, it takes some time to dry. So, you know, when you have strokes like this, obviously for now it's a little bit too rough and too abstract, but because it takes some time to dry out, you can always fix them and sort of tone them down in the painting. So that's what we're gonna do here. So, you know, we do try and sort of bring the nose shape of the nose in here. We do try and bring, you know, the lips in here. Obviously this brush is quite thick for this sort of detail, but it's good to have, it's good to basically, you know, on the painting have the idea of colors. So this is what we are going to have. And we will sort of continue to the, you know, from face to the neck and to the chest. So again, you know, bringing in lighter colors first. A little bit more oil. So I want to bring in the lighter colors first, just approximately to have the idea of, you know, have the idea of the entire painting, the scale of it. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can, probably can't see from there, but if I will zoom in a bit. So yeah, straight. So as you can see, we do have sort of, you know, darker shades within sort of our face. So we will try to bring it on and put it in the painting. It's as simple as it is in real life. You know, it all depends on the, you know, on the bits in our face that sort of change shape. So obviously we are going to have some shade underneath our chin if we have a light sort of coming from above us or sort of in the middle. So we will try to show it in here and a little bit on the chin, a little bit on the chin, some shading in here, and perhaps more on the angle here. You know, it might look a little bit weird at the moment, but it will all make sense at the end. So a little bit darker tones perhaps in here, say in here. I'd say one of the good things of you know, of learning how to paint is sort of to start noticing the world around you by colors. So, you know, what I do when I still learn how to draw and how to paint, but the good thing is to always sort of take notice of whatever is happening in your space. So whether you're walking down the street, looking at the buildings, at perspective, looking at the reflections, you know, in the windows, how, you know, the way, like, how can you see them in real life, and sort of try take notice, you know, for your future painting. Obviously in this case, people, again, you know, on a daily basis, perhaps looking or noticing, you know, shadows on your hand, shadows on your face, you know, depending on the time of the day or the lighting or whatever, because noticing something is a very important, I'd say even crucial way to learn. So that's something that I would definitely advise. Okay, so we're gonna use more oil here. So we are going to have like half an hour left. Okay, so we are going to sort of start with painting a scarf. Again, as this is a very sort of brief session, I'd say let's not think too much about the shape of the scarf, in a way that sometimes it's not, especially if you're doing like a study painting, sometimes it's more important to realize what sort of material you're painting and what quality it has. So in this case, for example, scarf, is very sort of soft, very light material, and it changes its form depending on the way you hold it, on the way you wear it. It's not a rigid, it's not a strict object. So often you do you don't have to stick to particular form, because literally with any shape, with any change you're going to introduce to this material, its shape will change, right? So whether if we can imagine, for example, this painting of this woman sitting with a child, like obviously she's in that particular pose, but if she would turn to the side only by millimeter, it would the shape of the scarf would already change. So I'd say when it comes to fabrics and I'd say objects that are very sort of easy to move, or like trees and branches and leaf, the same thing when you sort of painting, obviously you have to kind of know how how the leaves or branches can look like, but you wouldn't really stick to any particular form only because the shape of each bit changes literally with the wind blow. So yeah, so that's I think it's very important thing. I think that at the beginning, when we sort of try to learn how to paint and draw, we always want to follow the guidelines sort of very strictly, but after a while, it comes with practice. It all comes with practice. You sort of realize that sometimes it's not as important to follow something very strictly, but what's more important is to realize the actual idea of this object, of whatever you're trying to paint. Okay, so when it coming back to this painting, again, I'm sort of trying to find the right shape and introduce some sort of darker bits that automatically notify sort of our visual senses, our brain, that perhaps this bit of fabric is folded or somewhere behind. So that's what we basically. I honestly do need a little bit more oil. I have to be more prepared next time with the actual table setup. It's not very convenient for me to hold this on my legs. So we're sort of introducing the darker colors in here. And actually, by the way, because I don't really know if you're just watching or if you're painting or what you're doing, who's in there. If you would like to test, actually paint this painting, or have have more details of this painting, you can send me an email, or you can send me a message on Instagram, and I will forward you this particular image so you can practice it more. But to be honest, not necessarily. You can find a lot of images online. We're literally bombarded every day with tons of images. So, but it's up to you. You do have a choice of, you can always ask me and I will provide you this particular image, just in case you're, for example, starting right now and you want to finish it later. Okay, so I'd say we do, I don't know if you can see, but no fabric, although white in this case, does also have a lot of darker bits that sort of notify us that these bits of fabric are folded and they're darker, they have shades and everything. So we want to introduce a little bit of that into here. So this is like space here. Again, right now I'm not very focusing too much on doing it very precisely, just something very, very loose and say very, very sketchy at this point. Again, same as with the scarf itself, it's not as important where you're introducing the shadows, because again it is a fabric and it will change its qualities or its shape the moment in real life, the moment you change the position or the moment you move the material. So okay, let's leave it this way. So we're gonna try and introduce maybe more beigey shapes. Okay, so for example, remember I told you at the beginning that you usually need white color the most. Obviously this painting that does have a lot of white color, but again I used all white already, so that's just to prove that you do need a lot of white. Just gonna leave this here. And to be honest, yeah, I mean every time I buy paints, whether it's like oil paint or acrylic paint, or this permanent paint for the custom pieces that I do, I usually have to buy at least twice as much white comparing to other colors, only because you use it much faster. Okay, so I think, okay, we just have sort of this bit here left with the face of the baby, which we have to now introduce. So just gonna pour in some oil into the palette because it's a bit frustrating to go and take it every time from the jar. Okay, so we still have to do sort of paint this baby's face, and yeah, approximately the right color. Okay, so I mean, actually I often, when it comes to, for example, when I make a painting with oil paints, I often find the right color on the actual canvas. Sometimes I don't even bother sort of mixing it on a palette and then sort of transferring this color into the piece. I often just find the right color on the actual canvas or board. So yeah, so that would be it. Okay, I will literally have like 20 minutes left. Not sure, but we'll try to make it quick. So as you can see, I do, just gonna show you, zoom in into baby's face. So it's, this particular bit is more of a profile. Yeah. So, so you can see that we do have the lighter bits on the face, and we do have those darker or more red zones, bits in the face. So we will also identify, sort of try to present a bit too dark, still too dark, this hair on the side. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, I think, well, depending on how this and the next few sessions will go, obviously this was very last minute, so I don't really expect anyone or much people here, but I think, I'm not gonna lie, even although I know that 1 hour when it comes to painting is not that much, and I always keep repeating that to my students, like, try to come in at least for 1 hour, try to come in for at least 2 hours, because the 1 hour is literally like, you just basically start the painting, do few sketches, or like in this case few main sort of bits, and then you have to finish it. Well, then you have to finish it because the time is over. So in the future I might consider doing 2 hours, to be honest, but let's see. Okay, so now that I'd say the main areas are done, I would definitely, yeah, I'm gonna switch to the thinner brush. Okay, so there we go. Not too thin. I'd say there are thinner brushes. I'm actually using sometimes brushes that are like literally like 1 or 2 like hair thick, to do like the tiniest details, like such as I know eyebrows, eyebrow hair, like separate eyebrow hair, or lashes hair, like very, very detailed. But yeah, but anyway, this one will be good for now because we can sort of focus on bringing the details into the face, at least. So obviously we're gonna use darker color. I'd say, usually in more realistic paintings, you wouldn't have much black, if that makes sense, because usually, well, unless you sort of painting a picture that is, I don't know, in like someone in the cave or whatever, like a very dark one. But usually when you have some sort of light, source of light coming into an object, often you don't have a pure black color. You have dark colors like dark brown or dark blue, but pure black, not that often, especially when it comes to face, like, and you have a natural daylight or something. You wanna use lighter colors, like shades of brown, etc. So we are going to, I'm not sure if it's even much visible, but we are sort of trying to pick up the shape of the eye and some eyebrows. Again, even for this painting, this brush is too thick. For example, for the eyebrow, like I already made it too thick, but whatever, I'm gonna fix it later. And we're sort of creating this. I'm not sure if it's visible as much, but yeah, and we can try and create this like different details, like, you know, we would have a corner, we would want to paint, for example, a corner of our lips, or like the shadow at the bottom of our lip. We would sort of want to bring those elements in here. Obviously the actual chin shape in here. Oh, honestly, I'm so annoyed because this brush is too thick for too thick for this particular bit. Okay, but anyway, I'll try and fix this. We are going to, we'll come back to the face. Sort of, you know, this purpose, I'd say at the beginning is always to mark. It's good to mark like the details, the jewelry, very roughly, and we can add more sort of details later on. So again, nothing too serious. Some shirt detail in here. Then again some shirt detail. You see, nothing, you know, nothing too exact, but it already brings, you know, it already brings some detail to the painting. Especially I can see obviously the quality of this video isn't the best, but can already see that the further sort of you look, the better it looks. And we're going to have this bit here as well. It's like a scarf hidden underneath the red one, which is white. I'm gonna bring this dark bit in here. We are going to shape the nose a little bit. So the thing with the nose as well, I think it's important to realize, to realize that our body, our face, our head in general is made out of those little geometrical shapes. So depending on the shape of our nose, we do have, for example, like a roundy bit here, and then we have, like, obviously depending on the shape, we might have a straight line in here, or maybe a little bit curvy. So it's sort of a lot of bits in our face will be made out of different sort of ovals and circles, if that makes sense. I think maybe we can actually try and do some tutorial on that as well. Because it is important, like it is important to understand that the fact that you can withdraw particular shape from sort of geometric shapes. That makes sense. Okay. So we are sort of adding the details such as like nostrils. Again, right now it's a bit too obvious, but goodness, it's not exactly as it is on the picture, but I guess for you as well, not having a picture in front of you, like, doesn't really matter because you can't see it anyway. So we do have some outline of it. I mean, we do sort of want to put in more detail, perhaps, like a flower outline on the scarf, for example. Again, as you can see, I'm not giving any precise shape. I'm just sort of placing a lot of like different shaped, a bit abstract dots, but they do sort of notify the viewer that there is some detail. And if we add a little bit of like green, for example, here, and maybe here, automatically we do think that perhaps there is a flower in there, because as you know, the form isn't always very obvious. I think we, even when it comes to sort of painting people, we do sort of got used to seeing or painting, very standard poses of people, and so it's hard for us to imagine how would we paint a human being, a person. How would we paint a body, in a different position? Sometimes in a very, very weird positions. But it is important to sort of understand how our bodies sort of work, how they move, how our arms move back and forth to the side, and how to sort of draw them or paint them in different perspective, from different views. So yeah, so as you can see, I am adding some details into it. Just have to, okay. Yeah, some details into it. Now we have to add a little bit of detail in here. So baby's face. This is right here. We are going to sort of add, let's say, onto draw. Again, this brush is too thick for details like that, but you do want to try to withdraw little eyes as if sort of half circles, and try and draw here, and now reduce the hardness of the color and introduce some shape in profile. So you know, we do have this little tiny nose in here and the little lips. So we sort of want to introduce more shade into the face. Obviously it's a profile side, so we are going to have sort of outline of the ear in here. A little bit of eyebrows in here. So as you can see, perhaps not as much, but I'm trying to basically, you know, tap sort of you know, touch the you know, the board with the brush in a way that it sort of leaves, you know, a little bit abstract, but a little bit abstract sort of bits, but the bits that are very important and notify us that there is something going on, like different, like for example, you know, this brush is too thick for the hair details, I'd say, but okay, I think that's enough for now. Like, in terms of details, we would ideally want to use thinner brush, so I'm not gonna go further into this one. Okay, so we do have sort of this approximate you know, approximate shape of the baby, and we will introduce more sort of shading on here. Again, I am missing some. I am missing here the outline of a hand. So we're going to add that. So, you know, we do have, you know, this hand here, sort of supporting baby's head. So something like this. Again, when it comes to painting hands, for example, it's a very good method to realize the shape of our hand. So I'm not gonna paint on here, but if I can show it to you, it's good to realize that, you know, our fingers, they sort of move in 3 different points. So we do have these points in here, right? So we do have circle, 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 circle. Then we do have this point in here. So, you know, on canvas or on you know, on sheet, that will be, you know, another sort of circle withdrawn. Then we do have another joint circle, which will be presented as a circle, which is in here, right? So this bit here. So, you know, our fingers and our hand moves only, you know, moves with the movement of these joints. So when you draw or paint, you know, it's always good to withdraw first the, you know, these particular points, and then sort of connect them together to have the shape of the finger or of the entire hand. So like in this case, I'm gonna enlarge it. You can see this hand here. You can see this hand in here, and you know, it is pretty clear that, you know, we do, as I said, we do have these beads, right? These beads, the first ones, and obviously they are shaded because they, you know, they are in shape of a circle, and the light is coming from one direction, and obviously so that the other side is in shade. And we do have the rest of the fingers, so the rest of the joints. So generally you would want to paint the hand in the way, in the correct way, so that all the joints are connected correctly. I know I think it sounds a bit weird when I explain it. It's much easier to explain it when you sort of paint it. Perhaps it's also a bit weird when I explain it on my own hand, but it's just the best way to learn it, to notice whatever is happening around you and sort of come up with your own conclusions. So one here. Here. Again, very, at this point, very, you know, very sort of abstract. So more of a introducing more colors rather than any particular shape. But, you know, I mean, in a picture like this, you can already tell that, you know, there is a hand there. There's a hand here, right? In approximately like in this position, like this. So we do have the wrist, and we do have the rest of the hand somewhere behind it. I can perhaps introduce more white in here. Well, okay, so I think we're just gonna stop here. Well, whoever was watching it, thank you, and I hope I did give you at least few tips on painting, and I hope, you know, that I made you realize that you know, it's not important to have all the details from the beginning. The first thing you always want to do is to sort of introduce or present the full shape, even if it's not finished, even if it's not detailed, but at least, you know, you can see what it is. You know, like it's a woman, you know, in the sort of like traditional settings, holding a child, you know, and then, you know, you can sort of take the painting forward and step by step add more details to sort of finish it. So yeah, I hope this made you realize that from the beginning the painting can be rough, and it can be sort of you know, a bit smudgy, in a way a bit abstract, but I mean, you know, if I'm gonna work on this for another hour or two, it is going to look sort of more photorealistic, and yeah, just better and more detailed. So anyway, we're gonna end this session here, and next week hopefully we'll be able to, I've scheduled horse painting, which is a very, very interesting topic, and actually I'm not sure, I might do 2 hours session, and that one will be definitely more advertised, I'd say. So yeah, because with painting horses you also have to learn the horse's autonomy. So, you know, sort of the bone structure, joint structure, the general shapes and perspective, and the sort of the ways and positions in which horse can sort of stand or move. So that will be very interesting as well. So thank you for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I welcome you to follow me on social media and to ask any questions if you wish. Thank you, and